Hey boys and girls, it's Miss McGowan. In Phonics today, we are going to learn more about consonant blends. Remember, a blend is when you take one sound of a letter and another sound of a letter and you smush them together really quick to make a quick sound of those letters. But we can kind of hear each individual sound, okay? Remember yesterday we learned about these consonant blends, BL, FL, CL, and GL. Remember, we take these sounds and we blend them together really quick. We chunk them together to read them quicker. So BL says B, B. FL says F, F. CL says K, K, K. And GL says Gul, Gul. Okay, so we learned about those and we talked about the sounds that they make, so we're gonna move those away and I'm gonna introduce you to some more sounds, okay? So these blends all have something in common. They all have an R sound in them. Okay? So what I want you to do is I'm going to say 3 words and I want you to listen to the beginning sound of those 3 words. And I want you to try and think of what it sounds like, and then we're going to try and figure out how to spell it, okay? So the first 3 words are going to be crab, crop, crack. Crab, crop, crack. What do you hear at the beginning of those sounds? What sound do you hear? I hear cr and I hear r, cr, cr. Okay, so let's break apart the word crab, okay? Crab, crab. So how do you think we would spell cr, cr? I hear k, R, A, B, B. Crab, crab. But we're talking about this blend right here, okay? So remember, we can hear each individual sound, but a blend is when we blend these 2 sounds quick together and we read them quicker. Says crab. Alright, so CR says crr, and I want you to write that on a card, and I probably should have already told you this, but I want you to go get 3 more cards, because you're gonna need 4 cards total, because we're gonna do just like we did yesterday with those sounds and our blends, okay? So get some more cards and write CR on the first one. Crr, crr. Alright, so the next consonant blend we're going to talk about is going to have another R in it, okay? So I'm going to say 3 words and I want you to listen to the beginning of those 3 words, okay? Brag, brat, brick. Brag, brat, brick. One more time. Brag, brat, brick. What do you hear in the beginning of those words? I hope you hear brr, brr. Alright, so how do you think we would spell brr? Well, let's take the word, let's use the word brag, okay? Brag. Let's break it apart. B, R, A, G, 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 brag. But remember, we don't want to read it like B. We want to blend these quick together because that sounds silly reading it like that. We want to say brag, brag. So BR says brr, brr. Okay, so I want you to write BR on a card. Alright, so let's talk about another blend, and this blend has R in it too. Has R in it. Alright, listen to me carefully, okay? Listen to these words. Drag, drip, drop. One more time. Drag, drip, drop. What sound do you hear? What blend do you hear in the beginning of that word, of those words? Drag, drip, drop. I hear dr, dr. Do you hear dr in the beginning of those words? All right, let's take the word drip and break it apart, because remember, with blends you can break them apart and hear each individual sound, but we're going to blend them together in the end, okay? So let's take drip and break it apart. Let me move these up. Let's start over, okay? Drip. D. I hear a D. R. I hear an R. It. I hear an I, and that last sound, P. All right. Drip. Drip. Ip. Drip. But remember, we don't want to read it like drip. We want to say drip. Drip. Read it quick. Blend those two together really quick. Drip. Drip. So that's another blend that we have learned is DR. Drr. Drr. All right, so write that on a card. We've got one more blend we're going to talk about. All right, now I'm going to move these away for just a minute. Okay, this last blend is a little tricky, okay? So you've got to listen very carefully to me, okay? So this blend, listen to the beginning sounds of these words and try to listen to this blend, okay? Track, trip, trim. One more time, okay? Track, trip, trim. Track, trip, trim. What sound do you hear? What blend can you kind of hear? Trr, trr. I hope you can hear the trr, trr. All right, let's take the word trip, trip, and break it apart. Let's see how we can figure out how to spell that blend, okay? Trip, ready? T. I hear T. That first sound, T, R, R, E, I, P, P. Trip, trip. Ip, trip. But remember, we don't want to read it like ip. That sounds silly. We want to blend these two sounds together. Trr, trr, trip, trip. All right. So that is our last consonant blend that we're going to learn about today. TR. TR says trr, trr, trr. All right, so you should have 4 cards laid out just like this, because we're about to use them. So lay them out in front of you just like this. And let's go over those blends one more time before we play our little game, okay? So CR says crr, BR says brr, DR says drr, TR says trr, trr. All right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to call out a word, and you are going to pick up the card where you hear that beginning blend, okay? Just like yesterday. So when I say the word and you listen for that beginning blend, you can point to the card if you want to, or you can lift it up, whichever one you want to do, okay? So let's do it. All right, the first word, brace, brace. What beginning blend do you hear in brace? I hope you hear brr, brr. And that's going to be brr, BR, brr, ace, brace, okay? So let's do the next word, crash, crash. Which beginning blend do you hear in the word crash? I hear curl, curl, and we know that is CR. CR says curl, curl, like crash. Next word, draft, draft, draft. Which beginning blend do you hear in the word draft? I hear draft. I hear in the word draft. DR. All right, next word, tree, tree. Listen carefully, because this one's a tricky one. Remember I told you which one's kind of tricky? Tree, tree. What beginning sound do you hear in tree? I hear trr, trr. TR says trr, trr, tree. All right, the next word, break, break. Which beginning blend do you hear in the word break? I hear brr, brr, brr says, BR says brr, break. So it's BR. Next word, crisp, crisp. Which one do you hear in crisp, crisp? I hear crr, crr. Which one of these says crr? It's going to be CR. CR says crr, crisp. All right, the next word, drive, drive. Which one of these makes that sound? Drive. In the beginning of that word, drive. All right, it's gonna be dr, dr. I hear DR, 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 and drive. All right, last word. Ready? Trash, trash, trash. Which one of these do you hear in trash, trash? I hear tr, tr, tr. TR says tr. All right, good job, guys. Okay, so we're gonna move those aside, and we are gonna practice reading a couple of these words, okay, with these blends. All right, so I'm gonna write this word, and we're gonna practice reading it. All right, I'm gonna underline my beginning blend so we recognize it. All right, CR, ready? If you need to, we can break each individual sound apart if you need to hear it. Let's do that the first time. K, R, A, B. All right, now let's blend these together. Cr, cr, ab, crab. All right, good job. Let's do this word. Alright, let's just do each individual sound first. T, R, app. Alright, now let's blend these two together. Tur, app, trap. Okay, let's do this word. All right, let's do each individual sound first. B, R, A, D. All right, now let's blend these two consonants together. Br, A, D, Brad. All right, let's do this one. I don't like that. Let me rewrite it. Okay, hold on. All right, let's do each individual sound first. D, R, A, P. All right, let's blend these two consonants together. Dr, A, P, drop. Okay, just a couple more. Let's do this word. All right, each individual sound first. K, R, A, P. Blend these consonants. Cr, A, P, crop. All right, before we read this word, I hope you remember this. CK makes one sound. It makes that K sound, okay? So let's read each individual sound first. T, R, I, K. All right, let's blend these consonants. Tr, I, K, trick. Before I read this, I want to point this out. Do you remember what this says? What does ing say? Oh, I hope you remember. It says ing. Remember, the three of these letters together makes one sound. Ing. So let me erase that. Okay, hold on. All right, so we already know what that says. Let's read each. Let's say each individual sound. B, R, ing. Oh, uh-oh. Let me start over. Sorry. B, R, ing. Now let's blend these together. This one's kind of easy because look, if we blend this together and we know what this says, ing, bring, bring. All right, one more word. All right, ready? Each sound by itself. D, R, A, G. Now let's blend these consonants. Dr, A, G, drag. Okay, good job, boys and girls.